The most bizarre things Emperor Commodus did during his reign. Roman history is fascinating to look back at, and one such name in its history card is Commodus. Caught between a god and a gladiator, the Emperor Commodus was known as one of the worst Roman emperors. As a result, history looks back at Commodus as the one joining other brutal emperors. Historians describe his reign as a cruel man and conspicuous, sensual. Moreover, when the movie Gladiator was released, the makers showed him as their villain, as the things he did were so terrible that no one would have believed him. In today's video, we will show you some bizarre things he did during his reign. He avoided his duties. He was not concerned about his duties and always put someone else in charge. Finally, when he became the Emperor of Rome in 177 AD, he gave all his responsibilities to a man, Purinus. When he was not fighting gladiators, he was in his brothel. His harem had over hundreds of concubines. The beautiful women were gathered by his soldiers by dragging them forcefully to the palace. He had some terrible fixations and brought in a boy, ordered him to sleep naked with him, and forced him to rename himself the boy who loves Commodus. Also, Commodus didn't even leave his own family, as he made his own sisters be part of his harem, and gave one of the concubines a new name, his mother's name. Once Purinus realized he needed to kill him, things somehow changed. Commodus survived and executed Purinus. Moreover, a new guy, Cleander, was put in Purinus' place, and Commodus returned to his harem. He massacred a family for being wealthy. He not only massacred Cleander's family, but also wiped out the Quinili family. Surprisingly, it was not because they had betrayed him or someone demanded it. Instead, they were respected and wealthy, and he believed it was time to kill them before they started raising their voice to rule the city. So, they had to die. He also sent his man to kill the whole family and nearly wiped out their entire line from the history of Rome. Only one member survived, a boy named Sextus Commodus. When they came for that boy, he filled his mouth with blood. Then he fell off his horse and spat out that blood, pretending he was hurt and bleeding from the mouth, so Commodus' men thought he had killed himself. However, he survived as Commodus' men left him to die and sneak into the forest. He betrayed his friends. The entire city of Rome turned against Commodus when the city suffered a food shortage or starvation in 190 AD. Dionysus, the person in charge of the grain, to save himself, put the entire blame on Cleander, and then he was in danger. Cleander further went to Commodus, and Commodus allowed him to hide in his palace. However, his lovely mistress, Marcia, asked him to let Cleander throw him to the mob. Commodus accepts what she says. But he didn't stop at killing Cleander, as he put Cleander's head on the spear and brought it to the angry mob. Later, he had friends of Cleander put to death, along with their children and wives. Also, he had the mutilated body of kids dragged through the Roman streets, thrown to the sewers, and later left to rot. That was terrible. He devalued the Roman currency. Commodus led a huge contribution to the fall of the Roman Empire. As per history collection, he devalued the Roman currency to bring the collapse of the city. In ancient Roman times, devaluing the currency was more literal than today. He lowered the value of silver and gold in Roman coins, making each coin lighter and less valuable. It crippled the entire city. And once a Roman who used to live through his reign stated he brought Rome from the kingdom of gold to one of rust and iron. He threatened to kill his senators. Commodus didn't like his senators much and desired the entire power over Rome. He had a massive statue erected outside the Senate house, and it was in his own likeness, showing him as an archer with the arrow pointing towards the building. Each time they entered, they would have to look over a massive bronze bust of his likeness, starting over, poised to kill. Once, while fighting with animals in the Gladiator area, he threatened his senators with the ostrich head. He decapitated the ostrich, held its head, and pointed the sword at his senators. He then showed his hatred, letting them know they were his next target. In the meantime, behind him, the ostrich without a head was running around and bumping into things. He served humans to animals and practiced medical procedures on humans. The emperors of the ancient time went mad with power in a unique way that modern man cannot compete with. He was the only emperor of Rome born while his father ruled Rome, which meant he went mad with the power he was born with. It also made him a sociopath, and as per sources, The young preteen used to cast anyone who made fun of him to the wild beasts. He also did some experiments, and as a boy, he desired to be a surgeon, so he did his practice on living humans. Once, he cut a fat man's belly with a scalpel to see what it looked like inside. But of course, his teachers had to stand by to watch him and help him. If they didn't, then they would have been his next practice target. The months of the year were renamed after him. Commodus's ego was unparalleled, and he legitimately believed that he was the living god in Rome. He had Colossus's head chopped off and replaced that with his likeness. That's not all. He even pressured the Senate to declare himself a living god. He was not just a living god, but believed that he was specifically Hercules, the Greek demigod. Commodus also changed Rome's language, forcing people to praise him for whatever they said. He also renamed Rome Commodiana, as well as called the Roman citizens Commodiana. He went further by changing the names of every month and the variations on his own name. August became Commodus. He changed September to Hercules, and the other 10 months to one of the various nicknames he had bestowed on himself. He served people at a banquet. Commodus was strangely obsessed with torturing physically disabled people. And once he even forced men with dwarfism to fight against each other with cleavers for his entertainment. He also brought it to dinner, served 2 of the disabled men at a banquet, and invited a crowd of the elite of Rome to his home. He had them gather at his dining table and asked his servants to open the silver platter to reveal 2 hunchbacked men smearing mustard. He didn't eat those disabled men, and they were alive, but he put them on the table as a centerpiece to entertain his guests. They were also forced to sit on the cold silver platter throughout the dinner party, all naked and covered in mustard, pretending to be food to entertain and surprise the emperor and his friends. He almost bankrupted Rome by being the gladiator. Commodus was obsessed with playing a gladiator, and some people may not know how he used to strip naked, walk within the arenas, as well as bash handicapped people in the head in front of Roman citizens. He was not like a normal gladiator, as he used to force gladiators to visit his home and practice with him. And when he won among them, he killed them. As a result, some lucky gladiators left their homes with missing limbs and noses, and the unlucky used to die. When any of them tried helping the others, he used to let them fight against each other until one of them died. It crippled the entire economy of Rome. Every time Commodus showed up in the area, he used to charge 1,000,000 sesterces for his visit. His love for murder didn't just cost lives, but also helped spiral the Roman economy into collapse. He tried to kill his love, but later got killed. Marcia, the lovable mistress of Commodus, was suspected to be his true love. So he treated Marcia as his wife, took her advice, and respected Marcia more than anyone else on earth. Once, he was planning to declare himself as supreme dictator of Rome, and was planning to wipe out the Senate and start ruling on his own from the gladiators' barracks. He was going to announce it in the gladiator arena. Marcia begged him not to announce that, so he ordered his men to murder her. Marcia, however, survived because the sex slave boy, the boy who loved Commodus, warned her. However, a plot to depose Commodus was proposed by Lectus and Letus, who included Marcia in their scheme. Marcia gave poison to Commodus through his wine. However, Commodus vomited up the wine, but the conspirators sent a powerful wrestler, Narcissus, to choke Commodus while he was cleaning up. It was a disgraceful end for the brutal emperor. Later, citizens and senators condemned Commodus's memory. His image was destroyed and his name was scratched from inscriptions throughout the empire. Commodus failed as an emperor. He has been one of those many controversial emperors whose bad omen will be a part of history forever.